Hi, I'm Jennifer Taylor, and this is the story of how being just a receptionist turned me into the person who revolutionized the entire tech industry. But more importantly, it's about how sometimes the biggest innovations come from the people everyone overlooks. For 3 years, I worked as a receptionist at Taylor Technologies, my father's software company. Not exactly the position you'd expect for the CEO's daughter with a computer science degree from MIT, but Dad had his reasons. "You need to learn humility, Jen," he'd said when I first asked for a development position. "Starting at the bottom builds character." What he really meant was that he didn't trust my capabilities. After all, I was the artistic one who spent college summers coding indie games instead of pursuing prestigious internships like my brother Michael. Every morning, I'd greet executives in designer suits, schedule meetings I wasn't allowed to attend, and watch as my ideas were dismissed without a second thought. "Just forward the calls, Jen," they'd say, barely glancing at me as they rushed to their important meetings. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that being a receptionist gave me a unique perspective. I saw everything. Every visitor, every conversation, every problem that needed solving. More importantly, I had access to every complaint, every customer service call, and every bit of feedback that came through our front desk. During quiet afternoons between answering phones and scheduling meetings, I coded. My little hobby project, as Michael called it, started as a simple tool to manage the constant flow of visitor traffic and meeting schedules. But it grew into something more. I noticed patterns in our customer complaints, gaps in our service delivery, and inefficiencies in our workflows that nobody else seemed to see. So I built solutions. Small ones at first: automated scheduling, visitor tracking, predictive analytics for customer service loads. By my second year, I had developed a comprehensive AI-driven system that could revolutionize how companies handle customer interactions. Dad never noticed. He was too busy grooming Michael, fresh from his Harvard MBA, to take over the company. Michael, who couldn't code his way out of a Hello World program, but could talk for hours about market penetration and synergistic opportunities. Then came the day everything changed. I overheard Dad and Michael in the conference room discussing the company's image problem. "Having your daughter as a receptionist sends the wrong message," Michael argued. "We need to project professionalism, especially with the Microsoft deal coming up." Dad sighed. "You're right. It's time Jen found a real career path. She's had her fun playing at being an employee." The next morning, Dad called me into his office. "Jennifer, we need to talk about your future." I sat quietly as he explained how it was time for me to move on, how the company needed to maintain professional standards, how he was doing this for my own good. He even offered a generous severance package, his way of softening the blow of firing his own daughter. What he didn't know was that I'd spent the previous night finalizing the patent applications for my little hobby project. As I walked out of his office for the last time, carrying my small box of belongings, I smiled. Because in exactly 1 month, the Microsoft meeting they were so worried about would go very differently than they expected. The next month was a blur of activity. While Dad and Michael prepared for their big Microsoft meeting, convinced they were about to secure a life-changing partnership, I was busy putting the final touches on my project. My tiny apartment became command central. 3 monitors displayed different aspects of my AI system, which I'd named IRIS, Intelligent Response Integration System. The irony of naming my creation after the receptionist of the Greek gods wasn't lost on me. Then came the email that changed everything. "Dear Ms. Taylor, I've reviewed your proposal and prototype for IRS. Your integration of AI with customer service operations is exactly what we've been looking for. Would you be available to meet next Thursday at 2 p.m.? Best regards, Sarah Chin, VP of Innovation, Microsoft." I smiled, remembering how I'd submitted my project to Microsoft's innovation portal the day after Dad fired me. What Dad and Michael didn't know was that while they were pursuing Microsoft for a basic software integration deal, I had been quietly developing exactly what Microsoft had been searching for: a revolutionary AI system for customer service automation. The meeting with Sarah went better than I could have imagined. By the end, she wasn't just interested, she was enthusiastic. "This is incredible, Jennifer," she said, examining Iris's capabilities. "You've solved problems we've been struggling with for years. How long did it take your team to develop this?" "No team," I replied. "Just me, working between answering phones and scheduling meetings. Sarah's eyes widened. You developed this while working as a receptionist? Sometimes the best solutions come from people who actually deal with the problems, I said simply. 2 weeks later, I received another email from Sarah. This one made my heart race. Jennifer, our CEO would like to see IRS in action. We're planning to visit Taylor Technologies next Thursday for their partnership proposal. Would you be willing to do a demonstration that same day? The timing seems appropriate. Sarah. I grinned as I typed my response. Dad and Michael had no idea that Microsoft's interest in Taylor Technologies was about to take a very unexpected turn. The day of the meeting arrived. I dressed carefully in a crisp charcoal suit, no more business casual receptionist attire. As I walked into Taylor Technologies' lobby, Lisa, my replacement, didn't recognize me at first. I'm here for the Microsoft meeting, I said, enjoying her double take. Oh, Miss Taylor, I'm so sorry I didn't. It's fine, I assured her, hearing familiar voices approaching from the conference room. Dad and Michael rounded the corner, deep in conversation with Microsoft's CEO and Sarah. Dad stopped mid-sentence when he saw me, his face shifting from confusion to alarm. Jennifer, what are you doing here? Before I could answer, Microsoft's CEO stepped forward, hand extended. Ah, Miss Taylor, the woman of the hour. We're very excited about your presentation. The color drained from Dad's face as he looked between us. Presentation? Sarah smiled. Didn't you know? The real reason for our visit today isn't your integration proposal. We're here to see Iris, your daughter's AI system. Though I'm surprised you hadn't mentioned it, given that it was developed right here in your company. And that's when I opened my laptop, ready to show them exactly what just a receptionist could do. The conference room fell silent as I connected my laptop to the display screen. Michael shifted uncomfortably in his expensive chair while Dad sat frozen, his face a mask of confusion and growing concern. Iris, I began, addressing the room, is an AI-driven system that revolutionizes how companies handle customer interactions. But rather than tell you about it, let me show you. I pulled up the live demo, displaying Iris's sleek interface. For the past 3 years, while working as a receptionist, I observed how our company handled customer service, visitor management, and internal communications. I noticed patterns, inefficiencies, and opportunities that you can only see from the front lines. Microsoft's CEO leaned forward, clearly intrigued. Go on. I demonstrated how Iris could predict customer needs based on historical data, automatically route inquiries to the right departments, and even anticipate potential issues before they became problems. Here's what Iris did with just 3 months of Taylor Technologies' customer service data, I said, pulling up a graph. It identified patterns that helped reduce response times by 70% and increased customer satisfaction ratings by 85%. Impossible, Michael interrupted. Our customer service metrics are proprietary. You wouldn't have access to that data as a receptionist. I smiled. Actually, every customer call, complaint, and compliment came through the front desk. I didn't just have access to the data, I was the one collecting it. Sarah from Microsoft pulled out a tablet, showing her CEO something. These numbers align with our test results. We ran Iris through our simulation environments last week. The performance was unprecedented. Dad finally found his voice. You developed this while answering phones. During lunch breaks, I replied, between meetings, while waiting for couriers. All those moments you thought I was just playing around on my computer. I paused, letting it sink in. It's amazing what you can accomplish when no one's paying attention to you. Microsoft's CEO stood up. Ms. Taylor, we've seen enough. We'd like to make you an offer. He slid a folder across the table. Inside was a contract that made my breath catch. Microsoft wanted to acquire Iris for $120 million, with a separate contract hiring me as head of AI innovation. The room erupted in chaos. Michael was sputtering about loyalty and family obligations. Dad sat in stunned silence, staring at the contracts. But what happened next would prove that sometimes the biggest victories come with the hardest choices. I closed my laptop and faced my father directly. Before anyone signs anything, I have a counter-proposal. Dad looked up, his face showing a mix of pride, regret, and fear, emotions I'd never seen him display before. 3 years ago, you put me at the front desk to teach me humility. I said, pulling out another set of documents from my briefcase. But what you actually taught me was invaluable. I learned how this company really works from the ground up. I placed the documents on the table. So here's my offer. Instead of selling Iris to Microsoft, we partner with them. Iris becomes a joint venture between Taylor Technologies and Microsoft, with me leading the development team. Microsoft's CEO raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Go on. Taylor Technologies has the industry connections and infrastructure. Microsoft has the global reach and resources. Together, we could make Iris the new standard in business AI. Sarah quickly ran some calculations on her tablet. The potential revenue from a partnership model could far exceed the buyout offer within 5 years. Dad picked up the partnership proposal, his hand slightly shaking. You had this prepared all along. I learned from you, Dad, I said softly. Always have a backup plan. The next 2 hours were intense negotiations. By the end, we had a deal. Iris would become a joint venture, with Taylor Technologies owning 40%, Microsoft 40%, and me retaining 20% plus the role of Chief Innovation Officer. As the Microsoft team left, promising to have their legal department finalize the details, Dad asked me to stay behind. Michael had stormed out earlier, presumably to process the fact that his receptionist sister had just orchestrated the biggest deal in company history. Jen, Dad said, looking older and wiser than I'd ever seen him. I owe you an apology. Actually, I interrupted. You owe an apology to every receptionist, junior employee, and overlooked worker in this company, because I guarantee you, they all have valuable insights we've been ignoring. Over the next year, Taylor Technologies transformed. We implemented a company-wide innovation program, encouraging ideas from employees at all levels. Iris evolved beyond our wildest expectations, becoming the industry standard for AI-driven business solutions. Michael eventually came around, admitting that his Harvard MBA hadn't prepared him for the real innovation happening on the front lines. He now leads our corporate strategy, but he starts each new manager with a month at the front desk, a program we call the Jennifer Protocol. Last week, I gave the commencement speech at MIT. My topic? Innovation from the ground up, why every position matters. As I looked out at the graduating class, I shared the lesson I'd learned from my time as just a receptionist. That true innovation doesn't care about your title, your office, or your position on the org chart. It cares about your ability to see problems and imagine solutions. Dad attended the speech, sitting proudly in the front row. These days, he spends more time listening to his employees and less time making assumptions about their potential. The company's performance reflects this change. Our stock price has tripled, and our employee satisfaction ratings are at an all-time high. As for me, I still keep a photo of my old reception desk in my corner office. It reminds me that sometimes the best view of a company isn't from the top down, but from the ground up, and that the next revolutionary idea might come from the person answering your phones, if only you're willing to listen. After all, I'm living proof that you should never underestimate just a receptionist.